problem with dating apps for me is they remove me from the context of my life.
If the basics of who you are and whose you are scares a man away, please run.
I'm not in the business of bamboozling agnostics, right? Like, let's just let people know ahead of time.
Maybe third date is when you really hash that out.
Even the rosary tattoo on his arm means nothing. It means that he's got a grandma from Rome. It means nothing. You need to explicitly say if this is part of your life.
All right, everybody, and welcome. So, Clare McCallan, you are a Catholic TV personality. You also host red carpet events specifically for Catholic and Christian and other events, I believe. And also you are an author coming out with your fourth book. Is that right?
It is, believe it or not. I don't know how we got there, but it is book number 4 time.
Claire, and I mean, one of my girlfriends, I think we can be open about that. I think we can be open about our friendship.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to have you on. We're just so thrilled because I feel like you're such a good representative of a successful, young, beautiful, single woman that is now, out in the dating scene, and you have such a strong set of values and you're looking for an amazing man. So
I am.
We just have so much to unpack.
Yeah, I just am diving. I'm trying to. Allie. You know better than anyone else. Allie's my girlfriend, so she gets all the unfiltered. Would I describe myself as diving back in? No, dipping a toe incredibly cautiously. Like, it's scary to get back out there, but I'm trying a little bit half-heartedly.
It's so scary.
Yep. Probably not as much as I should.
No, absolutely. No, I mean, but I think that that's so real because I met you at that time, Claire, when I had just been through this traumatizing breakup. And I joked with my friends I was in my Eeyore phase because I was just down bad, crying at the gym. But I then was loud looking. So let's deep dive into this topic.
Yes,
loud
please.
looking. Yes.
Claire, could you help us out? What is loud looking?
For me, loud looking, and I love this topic. I talk about this with my girlfriends all the time. For me, loud looking is being deeply transparent about who you are, what your values and lifestyle is, and then what you're looking for in another person and what those deal breakers are. And I just have so many friends who, and we'll get into this, who are like, okay, well, I'm not going to bring up the faith thing till date 7. And I'm like, I mean, first of all, I don't think that's very clever for your success. And also, I'm not in the business of bamboozling agnostics, right? Let's just let people know ahead of time, because just as much as
We're
I
not
deserve
missionary dating, that's for sure.
Well, I mean,
Lord.
just I need to do right by me, but also at the same time, it wouldn't be fair for me to do that to another person when I know that I have these currently right now sort of unfortunately rare and unusual sets of values. It's right by me to tell people up front, but it's also the right thing to do for them.
Like you said, you're being upfront. You're being super intentional about what your values are. And I think it's also knowing what those values are. And I think that that's why it's so important to take a step back after going through. I know for me, I took a step back and was like, okay, what are my new non-negotiables?
Yep.
Nick, what do you think about non-negotiables?
Okay, well, this is a big topic. So in regards to loud looking, this sounds like in theory, this is perfect. This is wonderful. We want to be clear about who we want, what about them draws us, it draws them to us and us to them. And are we a good match? It's all about figuring that out.
Yeah.
But with regard to presenting your non-negotiables, I feel like timing is pretty important. Are we leading with this? Am I taking somebody out to coffee and then the very first conversation is all about my faith, all about my expectations for how I want a relationship to go, and all of these, I'm negotiating with them like a hostage negotiator, this person I just met 30 seconds ago. Is that what we're trying to do?
I think it fits perfectly what you're saying. I totally agree. If I was on coffee date, it would be crazy for me to bring these things up, but I'm not on a coffee date. At this point, if I'm on a date, it's a nice dinner and a show. So we're both serious. We're all everyone's here because we're serious. And I think something I'll say that I think is going to really resonate with Allie as well is part of my loud looking is people know who I am because I know who I am. And it's not just in my words, it's in my actions, it's everything about me. And so I'm not getting these coffee invitations because the men know better. And I think that's a
They
word of
know
encouragement.
better.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a word of encouragement that I would give the girls listening is, people are going to treat you the way you treat yourself. And it's almost this loud looking. So little of it is actually words. And so much of it is your lifestyle, how you present yourself. People are going to treat you with the same amount of respect and care that you treat yourself. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. I love that. And we'll speak to the single girls right now because obviously, Claire, like you're representing right now. So we're gonna talk to the single girlies. So where are they meeting the guys? So a lot of it is if you're doing the in-person route, it's conferences. There's meeting men in the wild. There's the apps. There's the dating apps. So Claire, can we just speak a little bit on when you're, how are you meeting men right now? Like what has been good? What has been bad? Tell us a little bit about that.
Of all the important relationships in my life, it was all men that I met doing things that I love doing and that kind of already speak to my values and lifestyles. So a lot of them have been from the gym. And me personally, like what I'll do is I'll go to a very nice gym because I like a nice gym. Athletics. You'll see we're in a reformer studio right now. I teach Pilates. It's a big part of my life. You're going to understand my lifestyle by seeing me in my environment. Other big relationships from church and creative spaces. Like, who I am. The thing is, and Allie and I saw each other like a week ago, and she was encouraging me to go on the dating apps. And she knows I did re-download. The problem with dating apps for me is they remove me from the context of my life. And when men don't have context about who I am and how I live, they don't treat me the way that I'm used to being treated.
Yes. Yep.
Oh,
yes.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
And that's, it's the removal of context I do think can be really tricky for everyone, because I think when we remove women from the context of their lives, we remove them from, I would say, the pedestal they're supposed to be on. And since we've removed obstacles, we've removed the need for chivalry. And then similarly, on the flip side, I would say when we remove men from the context of their lives, they can seem more dangerous because we don't know their mom and their brother and their friends. And so women get scared off.
Hide your kids, hide your wife. Men. No, I'm just kidding. They're not all dangerous. However,
I think we're doing everyone.
You have to be careful.
Of course you have to be careful. Yeah. So for me, loud looking right now, what does that look like? I think I'm kind of where you were months ago, Allie, where like I'm going to a lot of events. I'm doing a lot of podcasts. So if anyone's seeing this and thinking, wow, that's the girl for me.
Happy to help.
Also, you happen to be friends with a matchmaker.
When you're it helps to loud look when you're a television personality, when you go live and you say, guys.
That is true.
Yeah. As a matchmaker, I love bringing people together, especially when everyone tells me how hard it is to meet someone.
That's why we love SacredSpark, a new app for Catholic singles to meet people who truly value their faith and are serious about a lasting relationship.
SacredSpark not only sends you curated matches, but also allows you to join the app as a matchmaker. So whether you're looking for love or looking to utilize your matchmaking skills, SacredSpark offers a whole new way to find genuine connection.
The app combines the convenience of online dating with the value of community support. So instead of swiping alone, you've got your friends looking out for you too.
So if you're single or know a friend who's ready to meet the love of their life, download SacredSpark, start connecting, and change the world one relationship at a time. I'm a big believer in non-negotiables, and I think that especially when you're dating with the intention of marriage, it's so essential to have those non-negotiables and to be really real with yourself and to be really real with the men that you're meeting. So I think, okay, you can be compatible personality-wise, but you have to be faith compatible.
And I think to that point, Allie, like that's something that what were you saying?
Well, I think we should talk about this.
Oh, Oh my gosh.
I think we should talk about, I want to get Claire's take, of course.
Yes.
Like, I think we should talk about what the non-negotiables are. Not so specific, because obviously nobody fits into one particular like box. We're unique individuals with unique experiences. But I think that like people of different faith can work out well. I don't know. Call me crazy, but I think it happens a lot. We see iterations of it, and I think it's beautiful.
I totally agree. I think it's the exception, not the rule. And I think that most people, and Allie, you can give me your take on this. I think most people need to, and this is the lesson of he's just not that into you, right? Most people need to accept that they are the rule and not the exception. For me with the dating apps, like every time I've had a dating app, there's this great little prompt, right? It says, I like to spend Sunday and just put in the word church. It's going to sort of take out the trash for you. Not the people who don't go to church are trash, but people who see that and are like, ew, gross. Let's just get rid of them right now. If you hate that, you're going to hate me, you know? And I just think every person of faith who would like another person of faith should really do something to mark that on their profile. Because it's really not enough to just mark yourself as Catholic. Because you know who marks themselves as Catholic? Every Italian and Irish man in the greater Boston area. It doesn't mean anything. Even the rosary tattoo on his arm means nothing. It means that he's got a grandma from Rome. It means nothing. You need to explicitly say if this is part of your life. And I've seen
as an Irish Italian from the Boston area, I just want to say, like, come on. Like, I'm with you, but also, like, it's just, it hurts us a little bit.
No, Claire,
and what
I
am
could not
I'm
agree
an
with you
Irish
more.
person from the Boston area. Like, I get it.
Right.
But the amount of times I've seen guys who I know, guy friends of mine, on dating apps, these are men who go to daily mass and they don't mark themselves as Catholic. They don't mention their faith. And that's fine. But also, like, what are you doing, dude? I know you. I know that this is a main priority in your life.
I agree with that. Yep.
And I understand that you're scared to, like, scare off a pretty girl, but you can't marry. That's the thing with dating too, right? Like, why is everyone acting like you want to catch them all Pokemon style? You can only have one.
Scare them, like scare them off.
Just
honestly, scare them off. And I think that lends itself well. And I understand. I think in theory, but ideally speaking, like you said, Claire, it's the exception and it's not the rule. And if you're single right now and you have a choice of partner, it's just, why wouldn't you? If faith is a big part of your daily life, why wouldn't you seek somebody? And I've also had so many experiences where we've met great people, but a lot of the Jewish men in LA, and they say it. They're like, listen, I'm, even if they're Jewish, culturally Jewish, and not like actually like, doing the wrapping of the arms every day and all of that, they specifically tell us, they're like, listen, I'll date somebody that's not Jewish, but like ultimately I need to marry a Jewish woman. And I think, and I mean,
how many TV shows and movies have they made about that?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Harry Goldenblatt and Charlotte York. There's nobody wants this. Like, it's a trope for a reason because it's such a real problem.
It's a real problem. So, and I also see that, a lot of interfaith marriage is it's fine. It's fine. But when you're in a single season and you're practicing, whatever faith it is, finding somebody else that is going to read the Bible with you every day and help you be the best version of yourself and share the same values of honesty, integrity, those are invaluable qualities. And also other non-negotiables, wanting marriage, being on the same page. Do you both want to get married?
Yep.
And also wanting to have kids or not wanting to have kids. I usually say that those are like the three major non-negotiables. But Claire, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about those non-negotiables? Are those aligned with the way what you're seeing?
Yeah. They're great. For me, they're just not even enough, because we need to be compatible on contraceptive use, on I just had another one in my head. Like, there's serious things that are so far removed from the culture. Oh, chastity, that's what I was going to say. Like, and that's the thing about me loud looking. It has way less to do with me helping myself and way more to do with me not being a jerk to other people. Because Allie, you get this. Every single one of my girlfriends could have a date every Friday and Saturday night. Sure. But for what? What's the
For what?
point? Free food?
It's
Like,
exhausting.
that's not a good enough reason. It's like
No.
it's not right also for me to say yes to these dates and going on these dates knowing that I'm like tricking my way into it. Like, what's the point? Like, just be clear with people. I don't know. Like, these are
Yeah.
big, big, big things about my lifestyle that I stand by. I'm in a really fortunate position because I can talk about them willy-nilly because of work and my jobs in Catholic and Christian media. So people know what they're getting ahead of time. And that's where
Yeah.
the dating app thing makes things a little bit more complicated again, because they're not encountering me in my context and hearing me on podcasts like this. I just feel like I'm really, really, really big on integrity. Integrity might be my number one personal value. And
Oh,
part of that for me is just letting people know ahead of time what they're getting. 'Cause I don't want to waste anyone's time. I don't want to waste anyone's money or emotions. Are you kidding? Gross. What? So that I can like not be alone and feel good about myself because I got hit on? Like, it's disgusting. So just telling people straightforward, it's the compassionate thing to do.
Certainly, you don't want to get 6 months into a relationship before you reveal, like, yeah, my Catholic faith is important to me. And then they're like, what? Oh my gosh, we can't be together. Like, that is a total waste of time. And it's uncharitable to both of you, certainly. But I think maybe there's like a tactfulness to this. Maybe some of the bigger topics could come in on like date 3. Maybe that's just the guy's perspective. But I feel like I think it's good to lead with who you are, what is essential to you. I think that's a very important thing, but I don't think it's necessarily like scaring people away because of your non-negotiables. I think it's just perhaps the timing, the way that they're presented.
Okay, let me get even a little bit more explicit from a female perspective.
Sure,
The friends I have, and let's take my friends out of it. Me in my 20s, when you try that, you end up in situations you shouldn't be in.
I see.
100%.
With the state of modern dating,
Okay.
100%.
like you are not making it to the third date without encountering your boundaries. So it's either communicate it up front or end up in the near temptation of sin. Does that make sense?
I see. Yes.
100%.
Yep.
100%. So that's why it's really good, I think. Obviously, you don't want, we don't want to go into dating telling women, scare the men away. But at the same time, if the basics of who you are and whose you are scares a man away, like it's boo. Boo.
Right. Yes.
Like, please run. The last breakup that I had been through, I wasn't clear with my non-negotiables. I didn't think that porn was even that big of a deal. I was like, oh, whatever. Every guy watches porn. It's not a big deal. And also just my boundaries that I know about female friendships and male-female friendships. Like, I was like, oh, it's okay. We can navigate that together and see. But then I got deeply betrayed and burned, and I realized, oh, this could have been avoided had I just been, in the first couple dates. I don't have to put it all on a platter immediately, but I learned that, oh, I don't want to date a man who's watching porn. And I think it's okay to put that out there and to challenge a man like that. And also, you're going to get a better quality man. And you might even if it's not your person, I think even if they encounter a woman that is kind of like a high value woman that's saying like, hey, like, it's just one of my non-negotiables that I really don't want to date a man who is watching porn. I don't want my future husband to do that. Maybe this is not your person, but you can put that little seed inside of him to be like, oh, wow, maybe I do need to change this lifestyle thing. This is easy. This is an easy ask.
And I think, Allie, to your point, when you have these conversations, learning how to do it with tact and humor goes a long way because these are super uncomfortable conversations, right? And doing it with a sense of humor and tact and patience, exactly like you're saying. It's not like I'm like, well, this is me. This is how I live. I don't like the way you live. Bye. I sit there through the rest of the date, right? And like, let's have a conversation. I'm going to challenge you, challenge me back. I feel very confident in my ability to talk about these things. Lord knows I've been talking about them on dates for a decade now. Exactly like you said, it's a chance to, okay, maybe we're not going to get married, but maybe I shared something good, beautiful, and true today that will go on to affect the man positively and affect the woman he does end up with positively.
Yep.
Thank you for coming on. We love you. Thank you for being so vulnerable.
Yes,
Lord
thank
knows
you.
it's not easy, but it is going to help other women, and that's and men as well.
Yeah,
we love
the
you too,
guys
guys.
too. This is a very powerful message. I'm really glad that we're talking about this conversation. I think, yes, be more intentional. Don't lead people on. Establish what the relationship is, where it's at. Just be clear, transparent. This is a very important thing.
Thanks, Claire.
All right, thank you guys so much. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Let me know, what are your thoughts? Our male representative.
Yep. I think he came in with a wonderful perspective. It was very, very good because it comes from a lot of life experience working for yourself and working with so many women. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm kind of envisioning is worst case scenario is an interrogation. It's just it's not hey, I want to meet you and get to know you and this is a good vibe. This is fun. This is relaxed. It's more no, we are here for business. And I'm that doesn't sound like a fun date. Dating should be fun.
When we're advising, and even with our clients that have these, these values that are so beautiful, exactly. Some of them go in and they really take they take it to heart and they're point 1, point 2, and point 3. These are my 3 deal breakers and da-da-da-da-da-da. That's the real and big challenge. Stay strong in your values, all of that. But also when you're going on a date, and we use the vacation dating mindset. When you're getting ready for the date, you want to put on a playlist that's really going to get you in that vibe of just relax and peaceful and just, oh yes, zen, here we go. It's not only loud looking verbally and saying this is what I'm looking for, but it's also being yourself in your photos and
being authentic with how you're presenting yourself from the very first interaction.
100%.
Yep.
And listen, I love a good Facetune. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna, it's fine. But at the same time, do not use a fully tuned up, photo of that is fully Facetuned as your main profile picture. That is not loud looking.
Unrealistic expectations for how most of your dates are going to be. Most of the interactions with this person. Yeah.
Yes.
Present a realistic view of yourself.
Realistic.
Yep.
Fabulous for the women. We want to look our best, of course, but not aggressed. Not aggressed with the Facetune.
Yep.
And same with the guys. I mean, if everyone has a different type, and that's what is so beautiful. There are some women that a lot of women love a guy with a dad bod. So don't feel like you have to have these perfect, perfectly positioned photos and all of that. So you want a loud look, but you want a loud look authentically as well.
But it sounds like the purpose of loud looking, from my understanding, its proper place is ideally before the first date. It's how people hear about you, find you, that type of thing. From the first interaction, they know who you are. They understand the fundamentals of who you are. Your faith, family values, whatever it might be. Your non-negotiables, as we've talked about. So that way, if you kind of do the vetting process from, with the loud looking on the profiles or however you're doing it, when you get to the first date, like we were talking about before, you can have that playfulness, that spontaneity. It doesn't just have to be business.
Yes, exactly. If you know already that you're aligned in XYZ, it's so much easier.
Then you can go have fun.
Yeah, then you go have fun. Speaking from kind of my matchmaker perspective, I'm kind of talking to my clients because we're we vetted this man and, you're aligned with marriage, you're aligned with kids, you're aligned with, religious compatibility, and we vetted them and all of that. So that's where I come from a lot.
Yes.
However, you can use the dating apps as kind of you're being your own personal matchmaker. Also, going to events, like what we were saying, when you're going to these events that are aligned value-wise. So when I'm at these events, I'm just meeting people. But you can go on your own for your own volition and just open conversation. Yeah. It doesn't have to be hi, I'm at this event and I am single. But it can be hey, I'm at this event. This is something I really care deeply about. And let me actually talk to the people that are at the event. Mm-hmm. Because I think one of the other things is that people have a lot of social anxiety. So when they're in the wild, it's you don't have to loud look in person. Yeah. But just doing a light of dropping the handkerchief, it doesn't have to be aggressive. Hi, I'm a single woman. Nice to meet you. It can just be, do you go to this parish? Or, do you know the priest that's speaking? Mm-hmm, or it can just be any light opener for men or for women.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
you mentioned Catholic communities, Christian communities, Jewish communities. Just going back to the non-negotiables talk, I know we had a little bit of a disagreement.
Yeah.
You know, I was pushing back against Claire and you, I think, a little bit on the non-negotiables. And partly because I have some Jewish friends who have interfaith marriages.
Yes.
And with Catholics. And honestly, I'm like, they came to mind. And so I was thinking, okay, if you are going out into the dating world, the wild west of dating, and you say, I will marry a Catholic, or I will marry a Christian of some kind, and that is my non-negotiable. Or if you're Jewish and you say, I will not marry a Christian, it's like, okay, well, we have all these examples of these beautiful, flourishing marriages, and they have all these wonderful kids, and it's like, clearly they were meant to be with that other person, and they come from a different faith.
If somebody can choose, like if you're single, you're not already in love with, somebody that is totally different faith, totally different religion, like I think that you're going to have so many more natural alignments.
Yes.
If you are dating people within that faith.
Right. So as a general rule, it's probably a better idea to date somebody of your faith who you know you'll be compatible with. However, exceptions do exist.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
There's always the exceptions. Yeah. And I'm not, definitely.
And that's kind of why I was coming in with like, maybe third date is when you like really hash that out, because then you've established a little bit of trust. You know that like you're kind of compatible with them. This might work. And then you have the big religious talk. You know what I'm saying? It just gives people a little more bandwidth to get out the awkwardness of dates 1 and 2.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we will agree to disagree.
Okay.
I can't get behind that, but that's okay. It's not the first time I've disagreed with a male. All of this to say, you guys, thank you so much for sitting with us today, chatting with us, chatting with our amazing guest, Claire. Like, oh my gosh, how like wonderful and vulnerable was she? And we can't wait for next week's episode.
Take care, y'all.
Bye.